Hello, everyone out there in radio land. It is once again that time of the week. What time of the week is it? It's that time of the week where we dig underneath the headlines. We pilfer through all of the debris and detritus that, I guess in the case of this week, is the mainstream media. They got battered this week. Of course, we will talk about that a little bit later on. And tell y'all what is actually going on nationally, internationally, and right here in Kalamazoo. This is the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 WIDR Kalamazoo, where we call out the establishment on their BS. Now, as always, the following thoughts, views, and opinions are not necessarily those of 89.1 FM WIDR Kalamazoo or Western Michigan University. So we've got a good show coming up today. We're going to have a couple of guests on. Around 6:30, Gwendolyn Hooker is going to be coming on talking about a very important youth project that she's organizing with the Douglas Community Association. And then around 7:30, we're going to be talking to some folks out of Grand Rapids with Socialist Alternative. I don't know if y'all know what is going on in Grand Rapids tomorrow. We're going to be getting a special visit from, the President Jack-o'-lantern and likely all of his proto-fascist sycophants. So we'll be calling them in around 7:30 p.m. to talk to them and find out what is going down tomorrow, their plans, etc. As always, the following thoughts, views, and opinions are not necessarily those of 89.1 FM WIDR Kalamazoo or Western Michigan University, no matter how dope or insightful they may be, or in fact how dialectical or Marxist AF up in this show. No, actually, the composite makeup, that'd probably just be me. The co-hosts, at least Lawrence usually leans a little bit more Democratic Socialist. I think Nora is kind of an enigma. I think she plays it close to the vest. One of these days, we're just going to see her going down the street in a big pink tank, and then we will know. Anyway... I was kidding around with the co-host about the co-hosts who should both be here fairly soon. I'm going to kick off the show with a very interesting article. Again, this is about our region, our state. And, I didn't see a lot of play about this. And, this is some very important information. This was published on the 21st of March, last updated on the 24th. This is from the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Company. And the headline is, Great Lakes are rapidly warming, likely to trigger more flooding and extreme weather. So I'm going to read from this article. It's essentially about the effect that climate change is going to be having on the Great Lakes region, in particular here, the state of Michigan. The Great Lakes region is warming faster than the rest of the United States, a trend that is likely to bring more extreme storms while also degrading water quality, because really, it couldn't get much worse, worsening erosion and posing tougher challenges for farming, scientists report. And give me just a minute. Co-host just came in, so I'm going to go let them in real quick.
There's a bunch
all right.
There's a bunch of craziness.
Okay,
man.
so we're back. I'm going to table the climate article until a little bit later because really that's just going to be me reading off some cold hard facts. We got Lawrence on the show.
Yeah, what up?
Yo.
Dog, I am okay. For everybody who knows, who are consistent viewers, y'all know that we're usually late. It's usually because of work. It's usually because of work.
We're all working class people.
But I want to tell everybody, you know what I'm saying? We try and do better. We try and do better, be better. But
it's okay, man. I can hold down the first 10 minutes. Let everyone listen to my voice talking about political stuff. No.
Please do not ever do the douchey CNN voice ever again in life. Like, do not do the Wolf Blitzer right now. Because Wolf Blitzer and Rachel Maddow now need to be...
This just in, no collusion found. Liberal tears are flooding Nebraska, Hawaii... Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, like, okay.
I'm sorry.
No, the thing that makes me laugh about that whole situation is that there's two sides. There's the people who are like, yeah, we kind of knew that, we kind of expected...
The skeptics, like, I'd say us, we were a little on the skeptical side.
I mean, it's what it is saying. It's the same thing when it came to the DNC emails. You can't believe one thing without the other. So when Robert Mueller says that Russia did interfere in our election, okay, that is fact. But if that's also fact, then when Robert Mueller also says that there wasn't a connection between Russia and Trump directly, then that's also fact as well. But that also doesn't mean that there wasn't so the whole he's a Manchurian candidate, all this stuff, yeah, we already knew that a lot of that was just propaganda and garbage. We went back and forth on that, even on this show. And even for myself, speaking for myself, I'm like, dog, like, if you were talking about his corruption when it comes to him doing business in foreign countries, breaking the emoluments clause, obstruction of justice, money laundering, and all those wonderful fun things for before, during, and after, that's what the Mueller report was about, then yeah, Trump would be dead in the water immediately. Like he would have already been caught. Like, I personally believe that he will go to jail as soon as he gets out of office.
Well, we have reps like Michigan's own Rashida Tlaib who want him impeached on that basis. And in any rational world, that should be grounds for impeachment. But yeah, when your president is doing literal crimes like obstruction of justice, money laundering, and all that wonderful fun stuff, yeah. But saying that he colluded with Russia and Rachel Maddow and all the mainstream media hyper-focusing on that and not the actual legit crimes that he was actually doing, not to even speak on the war crimes that he also has been doing when it comes to us bombing Somalia and bombing other brown and black countries without a declaration of war, us trying to commit a coup in Venezuela, like a bunch, well, that's really ironic. I guess, one of the things we've said at the beginning, it's like, well, if you're worried about election interference, America's done a lot of it, and there was a certain, like, cognitive
currently
dissonance.
doing it right now.
Yeah. Literally as we speak. Yeah.
Right. So, and that's the thing. So, like, you have people, like, for example, like Kyle Kalinske, and Glenn Greenwald, who, in my opinion, were 100% right.
Yeah, and by the way, I'd highly recommend, there's two pieces in particular I'd recommend people who have been following this really, very, very on point. Glenn Greenwald's appearance on Democracy Now! From Monday.
Oh, my God.
The date was the 25th.
My God.
Yesterday's episode of the Real News Daily Podcast. They go into it in great depth. And then Matt Taibbi's piece, which you can find online. It's titled, It's Official. Russiagate is this generation's WMD. You can find that. I think, I can't remember, but you just Google it.
It's absolutely ironic, and I don't usually agree with Matt Taibbi a lot. I mean, I think he's cool, but there's times earlier, especially earlier when he was working on Real Time with Bill Maher, he was very conservative in a lot of stuff that he said. But like he's gotten better over the times. But yeah, Glenn Greenwald, Kyle Kalinske, and I would even put some of the Young Turks on there, Jimmy Dore and Cenk Uygur, because on both sides of the fence, everybody had a legit point. I do believe that when you're saying is Trump a Russian puppet, no, you're absolutely wrong. And if you're pushing that narrative, then you were absolutely wrong. But
and you know, as people like Noam Chomsky and Glenn and all of them have pointed out, if he's Putin's puppet, he's a very bad puppet, because he's been a lot. If you look at his actual foreign policy towards Russia, it's been very hawkish and aggressive, more so than Obama since he got into office.
Yeah, and like for example, he bombed Syria. Yeah, he told the people that he was going to bomb the airstrip before then, but he bombed Syria illegally. Like, one, that breaks international law. Two, that's Russia's ally, and there was Russian troops on that airfield. You're telling me if one of those people got hit by those bombs, that things wouldn't have got escalated? Like, are we honestly going to sit here and not have that conversation? I think the other issue with this that I find interesting, well, just looking at the whole spectrum, from like the Majority Report talk about it to seeing other people like other media figures like Dr. Cornel West talk about it. It's amazing that people didn't want to focus on the content behind Russiagate, because and that's the thing that everybody keeps forgetting. Why was Russiagate a thing? Because they believed that Hillary Clinton's election was stolen from her. Why was that? It's because we believe that Russia was taking emails and colluding with Donald Trump to sink her campaign by leaking stolen emails.
By the way, there was actually a passage in the book Shattered, which I have a copy at home. I forgot to bring it. But to paraphrase, it was basically, who was Hillary's campaign manager?
Robbie Mook?
Yeah. Him and another close confidant. There's a passage in the book about how like they got some burgers and shakes, got into a hotel room right after Hillary's loss, and said we're going to push this narrative to Russia. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean there wasn't a there. You know, the thing is, Trump has had sketchy ties to Russian oligarchs and Russian crime, but
there was some legit there. There is some legit smoke, and when you see smoke, you see fire.
But it was like taking one element of the criminality that is Donald Trump and picking that out and saying we're going to push this because there's this memory of the Cold War. There's this memory of the Russians being the enemy.
No, but
whole like media hemming and hawing of the last couple of years just reeked of xenophobia.
The issue that I had was, notice what Trump was afraid of, and notice what people who are near Trump was afraid of. Steve Bannon, who was a part of his campaign, said as soon as they get to looking at his financial records, Trump's done. And they thought that the Mueller investigation was also going to be looking into his financial records. It wasn't. It was just looking into the campaign during the election.
And even then, they did stumble on a few things that did raise red. There is a palpable reason that people in his administration and in his circles were falling left and right to this probe. It's because Trump, even though that what they were looking into, he's been, there wasn't any quote unquote Russian collusion. It's like picking up a rock and finding some moss under it. If you pick up the Trump and his circles, you're gonna find some corruption.
And that's the thing. Like there is the reason why there is because there are people who are locked up. I'm not talking about the troll farms. We're talking about some of his actual campaign people. There's been a lot of indictments. There's been a lot of people who are going to jail because of their involvement in this whole mess. So there is there. Here's the problem. it goes back to what you just said, and you said it eloquently, that they took the weakest argument to fight against Trump. But the reason why they took the weakest argument to fight against Trump is because they would also have to admit that the entire establishment in the DNC, Republicans, Democrats, or whatever, also move and operate within that same level of corruption. Not by doing money laundering or things of that nature, but do we move towards policies of countries that give us money? Yeah, that's what lobbying groups do. That's what lobbying groups on the Hill do. And to deny that, or to be like, or to be like, no, we're not affected by that, but he was affected by Russia, was completely asinine. Yeah. And that's the thing that, that's the reason why, we talked about Rachel Maddow's show, or a lot of the mainstream media. They focused on the least strongest argument to fight against a system of corruption, and the system was like, "Nah, get that out of here."
Yeah, and
but it also does not exonerate him. That's the other part.
That's the other clear part. On that. Something I did want to bring up, and I got a couple points. I'd like to hear kind of what you think of it. So, I think there's a real tragedy here, and the tragedy is this: it's I've seen some left wing pundits being like, I was right, I was skeptical the whole time, and to them I say, congratulations, we all lost. And here's how we all lost. What's tragic is we talk about there is real stuff. There's real stuff that it uncovered. There's real corruption, but the media has essentially delegitimized itself. They could not have given Donald Trump a bigger gift. When he talks about the fake news media, they have solidified that because over the last 3 years, they have been amplifying fake news because Russiagate made them a lot of money. They would run stories without doing their due diligence. One that pops in mind is the idea of Russia attacking the Vermont power grid, which turned out to be completely false.
Yeah.
And there's a laundry list of stories just like it.
Yeah.
And also, how's this going to play out in the election? I want all the progressives and Democratic Socialists to think of this scenario. Everything goes right in the primary. Our man, Bernard Sanders is on the debate stage with Donald Trump, or let's even say Liz Warren or Tulsi Gabbard or something. And
you don't want Buttigieg?
I do not want booty bag up on that stage. Booty bag can go beg for my booty to vote for him.
Look, I can't.
Let me finish my thought.
Go ahead.
So whoever's up there, Donald Trump's going to be able to be up there and play the victim and say well, you got Russiagate wrong. You got Russiagate, and that's going to play with a lot of people. That is going to play with a lot of those white. What do you call it? Swing voters who are all going to be wow, this guy's a monster, but they did lie about. They did try to put some BS on him, and
that's okay. There's one part about that is that we are forgetting the fact that the Republicans right now. This is another story that I want to talk about. Yeah. I'm alluding to is they're trying to get rid of Obamacare because of a Texas federal judge. If that stands and that ruling stands and they destroy the rule of what Congress made and the Senate made about Obamacare, not only are they are ripping away millions of Americans from being protected under pre-existing conditions and things like that, and that's going to hurt their constituents. How the taxes, just like how everybody was whining about taxes, not getting their money back because of how bad the tax return was, how the tariffs is hurting farmers. You want to rip away people's health care, and you still think those independents and Republicans are going to vote for them? Nah, because logic and money and reality still exists. We saw that in 2018 in the primary in the generals of 2018. You cannot, in this day and age, keep punching people in the face and think that a backlash is not going to come, like a retaliation will not come. So just on that part, but does he have a victory lap that he can hang over the Democrats' head? Absolutely, 100%. Like he's going to make even though he consistently lied about it, him and Mitch McConnell, and I also want to get to Mitch McConnell too, but to answer your first part of the question, will this help him with people who are skeptics? Yeah, I can see that. Will it be enough in comparison to what he's doing to the country? I don't think so, because reality is still reality, and their policies are hurting their constituents just as much as it's hurting everybody else. And also, did the mainstream media help legitify his claims of fake news? Yes. That's the reason why we are on. We have this show in the first place. It's the reason why the Young Turks and the Real News Network and Democracy Now and RT America, right, and Redacted Tonight exists. It's the reason why there's more validation in the Daily Show and Full Throttle with Samantha Bee than there is on Andrew Mr. Cooper 360. It's because we pretend that people's profits and ratings do not matter more than actual substantive objectivity. And we act like the mainstream media will be above it, and they're not. They're not, because they have a they're a multi-million dollar company that has a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that they make a profit. What's making them most money? Pushing Russiagate.
Yeah, and I do want to mention something, because one other thing that I haven't heard talked about a lot, because there are a lot of really great analyses about how like the media really dropped the ball on this, the negative impact this could have on our political situation.
There will be no backlash for it, dog.
Yeah, there won't be. Nobody will pay a price. I mean, that's tragic too. But one other thing I really wanted to bring up that I don't think has been discussed quite as much is, just how much this is just so tragic, the way that we had all of this grassroots energy right after Trump got elected. You remember like the airports, and I know this has been mentioned, but when everybody went to the airports to strike back against the Muslim ban, and like the Democrats put a lot of the liberals on this wild goose chase. And what's really tragic to me about it is even looking apart collusion, like the two things that the Mueller report points out to most stringently as far as Russian interference goes are the troll farms, and that the Russians hacked the DNC server, got WikiLeaks, and the one thing to say about that.
I haven't got through the full. Okay. I just seen the summary. I've seen the summary of the report. I haven't seen the report.
Well, I mean, the summary. Basically, those are the two main points of interference they bring up. Yeah. On that second point with the DNC. We should all remember there's a whole treasure trove of documents leaked about the CIA toolkit, Vault 6 leaks, basically said CIA is capable of spoofing kind of Russian data signatures. So my guess, my prediction, 10 years time, we're gonna look back and history is gonna look back on that and see it's it was another some more CIA tomfoolery. So all you're really left with are the Russian troll farms. We're literally talking about the idea that Russia influenced our election by memes of Hillary Clinton arm wrestling the devil,
or Bernie, or muscular Bernie Sanders, which we've said on this show. That was complete garbage.
I don't know. That's why I voted for Bernie.
No.
Man,
bruh. No, because there was multiple media sites that was trying to say that it was those Russian troll farms that influenced black votes, and I'm like, no. I'm like, can we please stop with this garbage, with this complete and utter garbage? And we said that at the time. Years ago on the show that the Russian troll farm stuff was garbage. But the other thing that made me, there was two things that made me upset. One, Trump saying that he wants to go after his political opponents again, which is upsetting. and dangerous because the president is threatening.
Yeah.
The president's threatening to go after his political opponents by threatening.
Well, he said, like, I don't want this to happen to another president ever again. And it's like, it wasn't that bad unless you got super thin skin like our current president does.
You actually did something that is a crime, which you have done multiple times in public. Like, you literally said you fired a person because they were investigating you. If that's not...
that is another thing. It's like, if he get... I don't understand how he wouldn't, all of our skepticism aside about the actual Russia angle, like, how did he not commit obstruction of justice? That's something I can't wrap my head around.
Look. This is the thing, and I agree with D.L. Hughley on this because he said it on his show. A lot of white liberals know exactly how black families feel when we see tapes of black people being murdered by cops, and then cops get away saying that they were afraid or that they feared for their lives, and then no justice was being upheld. So congratulations, America. You know exactly how black people feel.
Yeah, I think like there's a one meme that's like, for a lot of white people, this is the first time in their lives they've called the cops and nothing happened.
Right. This is like you know exactly. You know exactly how it is to feel like a black person in America when they don't get justice. It's not a good feeling. You feel like the system is not designed to work for you, and it's designed to protect the elites. A rich oligarch committed crimes on national television in front of us, admitted to it, and then got away with it.
So are you saying, like, silver lining, this might end up like radicalizing some liberals?
No. What I'm saying, this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that Democrats have a way of snatching, to steal a phrase from Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, the Democrats have a way of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Like, if you want to talk about corruption, you want to talk about how Trump has multiple. He had multiple businesses in multiple countries, and that breaks the emoluments clause. Easy peasy. You want to investigate the fact that he hasn't paid taxes in years, so you could subpoena that and look at his and see how much he's actually worth. I mean, the investigation also brought out that. Do you think that? I'm sorry, I'm to cut you off. I'm just curious. Like, do you think it's going to make it more difficult to go after his actual crimes? Because again, this is a huge hit to both the credibility of the media and the Democrats. No, because again, I don't know why Democrats was having faith in Robert Mueller. Robert Mueller helped lie us into the Iraq War.
WMDs, folks.
Right. So
there's a clip of him saying it.
So again, he was literally testifying saying that what was it? Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. Like he was in the courtroom with Colin Powell saying that. So again, like, for me, the writing was on the wall a while ago, that this investigation was going to be a mixed bag, and it is. If you believe the part where he says Trump did not collude with Russia and he's not a Russian puppet, okay, cool. But then you cannot then separate and say that you do not believe that Russia did not interfere in our election. But if that's also true, then you also have to understand that Qatar, Syria, Israel, all these other countries who also have lobbyist groups in America also help affect America's democracy.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, in particular, and they talked a lot about this on the Real News, there is a Russiagate story directly involving Israel, where the Trump administration was trying to influence Russia to vote against or vote for Israel, which is very interesting. It's just,
Russia, like, I think and there's some other foreign policy that I really want to get into when it comes to not just with Israel but with Russia, because since Trump has acknowledged that Israel can take the land that's near Syria, Russia is now trying to claim that they can take Ukraine.
Yeah.
So like there's some stuff, man. There's a lot of things there's a lot of stuff that we need to unpack here, but I do want to talk about Mitch McConnell for a second.
All right. Yeah.
Mitch McConnell does not want to have the Mueller report viewed in the Senate. Mostly because if you do not remember, President Obama and Joe Biden went into Mitch McConnell and they said, yo, the FBI and our intelligence agencies are saying Russia's interfering in our election. We need to have a bipartisan consensus saying that this is not okay. Mitch McConnell said, if you bring this up, I will blame you and the Democratic Party for trying to influence the election. Because of President Obama and Joe Biden's weakness, they conceded and did not say anything. They didn't fight for it. They didn't push it. They did not say, yo, Russia is interfering in our election. But so after that, Mitch McConnell then came out, I think it was yesterday, saying President Obama was so weak about dealing with Russian interference. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, son. You can't at the same time say blame people for not doing a job that you said that you were going to blame for doing their job.
Yep. Yeah. Right.
Oh, if you don't make my sandwich, I'm going to blame you for not having a sandwich.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me go grab our friend.
Oh yeah. Like Nora just came to the building, so when she gets here, probably probe her, not on her thoughts. Sorry, that came out real weird. Yeah. So he's talking about Mitch McConnell, and honestly, I'm not. Okay, so sorry, Lawrence. You were talking about Mitch McConnell. Sorry, I got lost in my train of thought. I was waiting on a guest, so
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Let's put some
Hold
phones
up.
on it.
Hey.
Right. A wild Nora has appeared, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on a second.
All right.
But the thing is that I'm getting at is that the thing that pisses me off the most about that Mitch McConnell and what the mainstream media won't do is tell you that Mitch McConnell lies just as much as Trump. The difference between Mitch McConnell lying and Donald Trump lying is that Mitch McConnell is a much more tactical and a much more calculated liar.
Well, he actually has intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he lies just as much as Trump. Not just blatant lies on policy. That the internet exists, you can go and see how what he said was a lie and go back and be like, yo, Mitch is lying. Like, and this is the reason why he doesn't want the report. In my opinion, I think that he doesn't want the report brought to the Senate because it's going to say, yo, Mitch McConnell knew that Russia was interfering, but he put the country before his people.
So Nora just got here. We got here. We're talking about the elephant in the room.
He put people in front of him.
If you got
party in front of him. He put the party.
Yeah.
He put the Republican Party before the country and the people.
Want to make sure you get your 2 cents in, because I'm hoping after this episode we will never have to talk about Russiagate ever again.
Y'all have lost your minds. Y'all have truly lost your minds.
I think what frustrates me the most about this story ending, other than the fact that no one's gonna be held accountable, including the media that would not shut up about this, is the fact that the media is still talking about this like pretty consistently. I'm talking about the CNNs, the MSNBCs, like all the other clickbaity articles. Like, I'm kind of tired of hearing it. There's so many things that are happening in this world that are more important than this. I mean, corruption is always bad, and like the election was clearly had its vote suppressed in many other ways than a bunch of Russian troll farms that reached maybe about 400 people.
Yeah, again, like we've said time and time again on the show, if the Democrats really had their house in order, they wouldn't be going after Vladimir Putin, they'd be going after Chris Kobach. But
and this is a huge victory for Trump, and the Democrats just handed it to him by focusing on this kind of nonstop and just avoiding all the other issues that people actually care about and that affects people's lives on a daily basis. The establishment Dems are it's made such a fool of them for such a long time, but this is probably the nail in the coffin in a lot of ways.
Well, I mean, what are they going to say? They're gonna, the same people who takes money and or influenced by Saudi Arabia money, by Israel money, by Qatar money, by money from outside the country. You're going to have those same people who are in bed with the same oligarchs say Trump is to talk about something else than he's a Manchurian candidate and he stole this election from our beloved Hillary Clinton.
Well,
that is the pot calling the kettle black. And
is it a function though of and I will say bless our DSA members in the Congress for trying to work in the system and whatnot, but they are the only voices who have actually been calling this out. The left-leaning progressives in Congress, the establishment Democrats, I think there's a tactical reason they wanted this to be true so badly, and it's because the things that you can get Donald Trump on, those issues of corruption, of financial dealings, are also things that, frankly, a lot of those establishment Democrats have their fingers in too.
If you think Steny Hoyer or Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer is not being influenced by money and politics, you have lost your mind. If you did not hear their speeches at AIPAC, which is also another conversation that we need to get to, where they're comparing Ilhan Omar to actual Nazis, that is not a joke. That is not a punchline. That is real facts. And you think that they're not a part of that same system of corruption, then you are clearly missing the boat. And if you want to talk about corruption or crimes, then there's real stuff that we could talk about. And that was the stuff that Trump was afraid of. But that's not what they wanted to fight on, because that's them being actually honest about stuff. No, they want low-hanging fruit. They don't want stuff that they need to work for. But that's the reason why you saw Rashida that's why, shout out to Representative Rashida Tlaib from the D.
That's pure Michigan.
You know what I'm saying? That's right. Detroit versus everybody. And she's saying, no, we're going to impeach him. And I'm calling for it because if you listen to any of the testimonies that you heard AOC and others did, then you heard blatant crimes that were being corrupted, that was uncovered. That's what they should be fighting.
So Donald Trump was violating the emoluments clause from day one just by running his Trump International hotel business.
I got you.
This is a lot of corruption he's been doing for a long time, and I mean, I was hoping we'd focus more on this, the media, but you can't really expect much from them. They are the same media that push WMDs and a lot of other conflicts.
Yeah, and that's the issue. The issue is that you have to have people who are objective and honest. But let's also be honest. What made them more money? What was getting
Russiagate
more views?
Still gets clicks this day.
Yeah. So what? It was the same thing when you saw in 2016. What made them more money? Covering a Bernie Sanders speech or Trump's empty podium?
Oh man!
You know what I'm saying? What stirred up more chaos for the defense contractors? Threats of violence, of a war in Venezuela, Iran, and Russia, or us trying to have peace, or talking about trying to end conflicts. The things that we care about in this room collectively are not the things that make money for the multinational corporations that's supposed to be telling us what's going on in the world. That's the sad part of it, but that's also the reason why we're doing this show.
I guess off that, one thing that's at least worth mentioning is that some things, like some policies that do help the working class, the majority of people, would still end up being good for a lot of big businesses. But it even then, like, shows a flaw in the system that these same businesses that were, screwing people over by lobbying for this stuff would still get back from it.
I mean, you saw how, to go on a different tangent, you saw how AOC dealt with the Wells Fargo dude.
Actually, no, I didn't see that.
Oh my God. My family. To quote one of my favorite battle rap, or to quote a battle rapper from Philly, rest in peace to Tech 9. We gotta get to these body bags. Okay? Like when it came to the facts, body bag. When it came to
what was it that happened?
Okay, basically what happened was she was like, Wells Fargo, you were the number one contributor to the Dakota Access Pipeline. The Dakota Access Pipeline has leaked 5 to 7 different times and has killed millions of has destroyed acres, thousands and hundreds of thousands of acres of land because of the spills. Why are you not responsible? Why should we not hold you responsible for the leaking of the pipeline? Since you said that it was a part of your thought process and liability, and it was a business move, shouldn't you be paying for the failing of said business project?
Yeah, those are important questions to ask.
That's the summary of it. But bruh, when I tell you she got to them, when she was like, yeah, I'm gonna put your entire business outlook policy, I'm gonna put that body bag into a body bag, and it was.
He's just consistently great at roasting these awful establishment figures.
Oh, yeah,
I love it every time I see it.
It was awesome. But I mean, that's the thing about. But just to go off on a different tangent, I know we just changed the subject to AOC roasting Wells Fargo, but just one last thing about the Mueller thing. The Democratic establishment always finds a way to lose to Republicans because that's what they are made to do. And this is the reason why I say that. Because they literally said it on TV. If you saw Morning Joe, where they had like the Morning Joe is the epicenter of establishment Democrat and just the establishment media, in general. Democrat, Republican, right. Just Washington in general. And you had a business person, you had a person on there who said, if Bernie Sanders becomes president, it will be bad for our country. He literally said that. That is not a joke. That is not a punchline. That's real facts. Wait.
In the psych world, ladies and gentlemen, we call that Freudian slip.
Yeah. No. But then he also said, as horrible as, but then he also said, as he was talking to Joe Scarborough, he said, I would rather, as horrible as Donald Trump is, I would rather vote for Trump than Bernie. And Joe Scarborough had to be like, hey, yo, remember we're on MSNBC. You need to toe the party line. You wouldn't vote for a bigot, right? Yeah. And he's literally course correcting him on live TV. And he's like, you're right, Joe. Yeah. I wouldn't do that. Yeah. I wouldn't do that in public. Yeah. And I'm sitting here like, this is how you know that the Democrats' plan when it came to Mueller, it wasn't serious or being authentic or true. Because as we've talked about, if you want to talk about, not his scandals. Like forget about the whole paying off porn stars stuff. But that is a financial crime, paying off porn stars with campaign money, and there are people who are in jail now because of it. Breaking the emoluments clause, obstruction of justice, lying to all of those actual
lying under oath.
Yeah, lying under oath. Those things legit. 100%. He's a Russian agent taking orders from Vladimir Putin. And the only way we know this is because a troll farm got 1 million clicks. Comparing the troll farm to YouTube videos. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Come on, son.
All right. So I think with that, it's about time. So we want to kind of close out, the Russiagate issue. Here's what I'm saying. If you still think that Trump is a Putin puppet, you're still 100% on that. Here's what we'll do. I'm gonna offer you. We're gonna buy you some land. You can live there with all of the QAnon people, and you can just debate your conspiracy theories while the rest of us talk about the real issues.
Oh my God.
So,
dog, I actually have a QAnon person that I work with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like QAnon people are a lot like conspiracy theory black people that talk about the Illuminati. Yeah, like it is a mixed bag of just misinformation. Yeah. Like it's hilarious.
Okay. I could talk about this for a long time, but the underlying thing is sometimes they get some things right, but bottom line, they think that the president talks to them in code. It's just oh man, yeah. That's the craziest conspiracy theory out there, that the president is not an idiot. But,
no. The craziest conspiracy theory. No. The craziest conspiracy theory was the one that was done on the floor where Star Wars was used to kick down the Green New Deal. If y'all have not seen what I'm talking about,
what?
Okay. There was a Republican legislator that was talking about the Green New Deal, and now the Republicans have been putting out this bogus garbage talking point about how much it costs. Mm-hmm. One of the Republican representatives talked about the Green New Deal by using Star Wars as a reference. Like, I am not joking.
Well, like the Green New Deal is a Death Star?
No. It was like, if we have this Green New Deal and it costs this much money, how will we ever get to space? How will we ever ride this animal that does not exist?
Yeah.
I was like,
I'll tell you what. Let's save this planet first, so we won't have to escape to space. How about that? All right. So, Nora, any other thoughts?
Not really.
Okay.
I'm just glad it's over.
All right. So now we've really put a pin on that. Let's reel it back in. We're about to talk about some Kalamazoo issues. We've got the Gwendolyn Hooker is about to join us and talk about actually some good news, because we seldom have that on the show. This is the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 WIDR Kalamazoo, your only source for political revolution.
What's up, everybody? It's RJD2, and you're listening to 89.1 WIDR FM, Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Stay tuned for Wider's weekly RSO Spotlight
on WIDR Kalamazoo. Hi, I'm Taylor. I'm the Vice President of External Affairs for WMU Dance Marathon. We are a philanthropic RSO on Western Michigan's campus that engages the campus community and joins together to celebrate and support the work done at Helen DeVos Children's Hospital. We work diligently to raise money to improve the quality of care and well-being for the children that are treated and their families at Helen DeVos. On March 30th, we will be celebrating the support we received from the community and the impact we are making on these families with a 12-hour dance marathon. We'll be standing in solidarity with the staff and patients at the hospital. To find out more about Dance Marathon and what we do, you can visit us at dmatwmu.org.
This has been our weekly RSO Spotlight on WIDR Kalamazoo.
For more information on how to spotlight your RSO, head to WIDRFM.org.
Hey y'all, we are back. This is the Hoodrat Strategist radio program. Thank y'all for tuning in. So we are now joined by a very special guest. She is a powerhouse in local Kalamazoo organizing. The lovely Ms. Gwendolyn Hooker. Sorry,
Hello,
I thought about saying lovely the first time. I don't know if I was being too fresh, but
it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. All right.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today, Andy.
Oh, you're very welcome. So, I kind of introduced this by saying, we're actually going to talk about something positive on the program. You know, we always kind of doom and gloom with some sardonic humor kind of sprinkled on top. But I think I'm going to go ahead and just let you kick off and start talking about it. But I just kind of it's a kind of youth-centered program to address some of the gaps in our community. And, you know, from there, just go ahead and tell people a little bit about it. This is YOUKANDA. This is I'm probably pronouncing that very, very Caucasianly. But
That's okay. I'll help you out.
Oh, all right.
So this is our 4th annual Youth Connect. Every year, the Youth Advisory Council chooses a theme, and with the popularity and the box office sweep of Black Panther, they wanted to kind of think about the superhero and Marvel and how we can really bring out, the superhero that's in all of the youth that already, everyone has their own special superpower within themselves. And so what they came up with was YOUKANDA, which is a play on Wakanda. But we know that there's lots of underlying storyline throughout Black Panther. And so it really hit on a lot of issues that have plagued historically, people of color. And we really are talking about making sure that we're leveling the playing field for youth that are marginalized. So what we're doing April 3rd, which is 1 week from today, many youth service organizations will descend on the Douglas Community Association from 3 to 6:30 p.m. and we will offer youth services. So any organization that has summer programs, summer jobs, summer camps, food security, those folks will be there. And we do it with the backdrop of a spring break party. It's always the spring break. It's always the Wednesday of spring break. And so this is our 4th annual Youth Connect. We've been doing this for a while. This is our 2nd year that the Douglas Community Association has hosted us. So we're very excited that we're returning there. But the whole idea was really to make available services and supports for our youth. Any school-age person within the sound of my voice is welcome and warmly invited to attend. It's an all-free event. Free food, free fun, free services, lots of good. It's a good time for folks that are just looking for something fun and free to do over spring break next Wednesday. And so we're encouraging families to come out. It's definitely a family-friendly event. We have Mr. Classy Kids who's going to be in the building that always brings the party for kids. So we'll have the bounce houses and face painting and some dancers. Ed Genesis, who we know and love, will get on the mic and do a special sneak peek of this piece that he's been working on, which I am very excited to be collaborating with him on, as well as many other folks. We're happy to have partnered with Vine Neighborhood Association, so we're very, very glad that we're kind of really stretching out across all of the sides of town and really inviting, everyone to come out and bring their youth, bring their kids, their family, and come out and have a good time.
Oh, that's great, Gwen. And I wanted to kind of ask, there is kind of a frame around this. It's great that you're organizing this every year. One of the things it says kind of in the description of the event, you're talking about there's a focus on equity, and also about excuse me, plugging people into services. And I think there is kind of a political aspect to that. And from what I see, it's about kind of getting, the youth into that conversation. A lot of times we're in these spaces and it's either people who organize nonprofits or city officials who are having these conversations.
Absolutely.
Why is it important to have those youth voices, and kind of how are you going to use that to address these issues?
Absolutely. So I started this about 5 years ago. I came up with this concept because, there was a lot of things going on with gun violence in the schools. We know that in between gun violence, the cuts in education, and the bullying situation that's going on all across the country with Michigan.
By the way, shout out to you for organizing Jabs.
Thank you so much. That's why I was kind of running a little late. We have Jabs Club on Wednesdays, so I had to, do my thing and go out to the New Village Park and make sure that the kids do their regular programming. So we started in really direct response to wanting to include the people that were being most impacted by a lot of the things that were going on in school, and actually inviting them to have conversations. And so we really have been very intentional. You know, we have a youth advisory council that really kind of directs this event. It's for youth, by youth. We will have Nancy King from Cope Network, who's going to be talking about adverse childhood experiences, which directly, you know, ties into a lot of the things that youth deal with, just day-to-day living, you know, going to school, the 5 youth that were killed last year in the car crash, a couple folks, one guy got caught with a gun just recently at Kalamazoo Central. So all of these issues that directly impact kids that, you know, very few organizations actually take the time to invite the youth to actually sit at the table and give their perspective on it, which is mandatory. It's imperative that we hear from youth and best know how to help them. And so this event is specifically for youth, by youth, and it's really not only about having a good time, but it's also about being educated. You know, we're going to talk about the new marijuana law. Kalamazoo Public Safety is one of our collaborators, and they will do a breakout session about the dangers of the new law that, you know, really allows accessibility for marijuana to be really, really way more accessible. And so what are some of the dangers of actually getting caught up in using at such a young age? Talking about gun violence, talking about the adverse childhood trauma, and of course we'll be talking about bullying. So lots of different breakout sessions. We give incentives to the youth by saying if they attend breakout sessions and they go through all of the youth service organization providers that are on site, their name, their card, their punch card, their connect card goes into a raffle, and then it's very random. Whoever wins, you know, we have some free phones, we have a hoverboard, we've got some really great giveaways for folks to actually not only be educated, but actually get, you know, an incentive to actually learn about what's going on in your community.
All right, Morris, did you have something?
I mean, no, it's dope. It sounds dope. The only thing that I'm really curious about is the public safety talking to the youth about marijuana. Is it going to be a real discussion, or is it just going to be a presentation from the police perspective?
It is not a discussion. There are breakout sessions where, you know, after. So basically, there's going to be different rooms. So the main landscape, so to speak, is an event where we're not actually requiring youth to do anything except come and enjoy themselves. On the back end, it's also an opportunity to engage in conversations with Kalamazoo Public Safety, with KidNet, with Vine Neighborhood Association, Prevention Works, many of the service providers that are going to be there. There will be opportunities to have conversations with people one-on-one in a group, but there's going to be 4 different breakout sessions. The youth can decide which 2 they want to attend. They don't necessarily have to be the breakout on marijuana, but in order to actually, for your Connect card to go into the raffle, you do have to have attended 2 of those breakout sessions and have actually stopped at all of the youth service organizations that are on site. And that's because we do want children to know some of the resources that are available in Kalamazoo, which is another problem. You know, there's lots and lots of youth service organizations. Actually, it's about 4,000 nonprofits in Kalamazoo County in general. Mm-hmm. And there's at least 70% of those are youth service organizations, but most of the people that those services are for, the youth don't even know about it. You know, their parents don't even know about it, or their caretaker doesn't know about it. So it's really about having on site, you know, a lot of those services. So whether it's not so much as a discussion as much as, at least that component is not so much as a discussion, because they're really tidbits of information. It's really about, just like with bullying, Jabs will do a breakout session which is going to talk about the new law that just actually went into effect in Kalamazoo County today, that speaks to cyberbullying and speaks to the fact that, you know, cyberbullying is now criminal. It's against the law. So, and that's things that bullies need to know, and people that are getting bullied need to know, because you want to know that, if you continue in this behavior, you're going to go to jail, you're going to get fined, and if you're too young for any of those things to happen, then your parent or your caretaker, your guardian pays the consequences for your behavior. So it's a very, very specific consequence at this point for cyberbullying, which is really a step in the right direction to start addressing some of these issues that are going on in the schools. Michigan is number one in the nation for bullying. So that is why, they are really one of the few states in this in the United States that actually have specific cyberbullying laws on the books. And so I'm very, very excited that, we wrote many, many letters to Lansing about doing something about the bullying and just working with them and talking to the right people. We did have some input on some of the language that's in that law. So we're really excited about a win when it comes to cyberbullying.
So,
any other? Did you want to? Did you have a follow-up question?
I mean, no. There's a lot of things that y'all are addressing that we talked about on the show. One of the main things that we always say is that most of the time, most people are just not informed, and it's and that's in our society too. I did read that bill about cyberbullying, and I got very concerned. But that's a totally different conversation for another time. I do believe in addressing bullying, but there's some issues in the law that were just passed that I'm very concerned about. But again, overall, I think the event's awesome. I think that's definitely super dope. If I was a teenager, I definitely would have attended and or been forced to because my parents put me in everything. Dog, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I was in everything. I would have been one of the volunteers, like randomly one day. Oh, we can still volunteer.
Still come. Yes. We're not gonna turn down any volunteers, but yeah, and
y'all
so
have like 20. Y'all have 40 different things on this flyer. Do you see that? Okay,
it's hard to narrow it down.
Okay. Look, I know we're going to post this on YouTube and then post it on our Facebook pages, but I'm going to post this flyer because I need you all to see how many different sponsors and or people that will be there. Because Jesus Christ, man, I need to I need to know how you did it. So because I want to do it.
Makes those phone calls, all right?
So the thing about it, and that is, I have to say that's why, hope it's called hope through navigation, because a lot of times it's just having the conversations and asking the right questions, but we navigate people to resources. That's what we do, and in order to do that, you have to know folks. And so I've worked in nonprofit for almost, I'm gonna kind of tell my age a little bit, but I've been working in nonprofit for close to 30 years. I've been doing this for a long time, and so I've really. When I grow up. I'm trying to get there. I'm not there yet. So I really have to say, it's. I've put in a lot of work. I've did my time and served a lot of organizations by either volunteering, giving up, time, hours, service, blood, sweat, tears, in some cases to actually, it's times, at some point you can't only give, you have to get back. And so a lot of times when I make phone calls, people will give back because of the work that the seeds that I've sown already previously, in the nonprofit world. And so I'm very, very grateful for all of the folks that tend to step up, to the plate when I call, especially, when we're talking about Kalamazoo Parks and Rec. They always come through. Vine Neighborhood Association, Northside Association for Community Development is always a go-to person. When I call Maddie Jordan Wood, she's coming. Same with Ed Genesis, Angela Anderson. There's so many people that I could go on and on, but there's some folks that I know, if I need them, I know I can make that phone call and they're going to come. And so I'm grateful that when you start talking about youth, and actually giving youth a safe place to come where they can actually not only have a good time, but also, learn and find out a lot of valuable information. It's really a win-win. If you're a youth service organization and you're not at Youth Connect, you're in the wrong place. You really are supposed to be at the Douglas Community Association next Wednesday at 3:00 to actually provide services and information to youth in Kalamazoo County. And if you're not there, you need to ask yourself why you're not there. And that's just keeping it real, because there's no way. And I don't have a problem if you say, I can't pay the table connector fee. I don't have a problem with waiving costs, because it's not about the money. The money's going to make itself. I don't have a problem with, making it happen and making it work. But, so it's not, you can't say, well, I don't have the $100, because I waive costs all day long. So I just really believe that if you're in the service industry of providing services to youth, you should take any opportunity that you can to actually provide services to youth, especially when they are the youth that are on the sides of the margin, that are always the last to get invited somewhere and the last to receive services. This is an opportunity for them to be the first. And so we're really, really encouraging people to come out and get involved. Charlie's Place is going to be there. I mentioned Classy Kids. So many people, Old National Bank is a sponsor. They've been a sponsor. They're a return sponsor. They come through every single time for 4 years in a row. Same with the Kalamazoo Community Foundation. Adavia Credit Union is on board this year. They're a new sponsor. Prevention Works is a new sponsor that we've just really been kind of working with this year, really, really starting to lay some foundations for some future collaborations. Young Kings and Queens, everybody knows Takesha Johnson and the work that she's doing out there. So we are really just trying to pool our resources and actually provide services to a population that needs the services.
The only thing I'm mad about is that Lake Michigan Bank, credit union, Lake Michigan Credit Union, dog, why y'all not part of this? I'm just saying,
LMC has been messing up lately.
I'm just saying, bruh.
A little insider thing. They would not open an account for the Socialist Party of Michigan. Who did, though? Consumers Credit Union. So
Okay.
No, Consumers is not perfect either. They don't handle sexual assault in their workplace well. I've heard
look,
stories.
y'all, look. Okay. We have had this conversation before.
Banks are not good people.
Banks are not people, because if they were, they would go to jail when they destroyed our economy. But we still
we're getting a little off track.
Right. Wait.
What I would suggest, do like I do, put your money in your mattress, and you don't have to worry about it. You can get it whenever you want to, and you don't have to pay to take your own money out. But I do love Old National Bank. I bank with them all the time. I've never had any problems. But I give my services and my money to people that give back. And I've been very, very, very adamant about that before it was the cool thing to do. I shop with minority-owned businesses. I spend my money in my community. I do not patronize organizations and people that are structurally racist on its face. I do not spend my money. I work too hard for it. And so if you want my money, you have to earn it, just like my vote. So outside of that, I did forget to mention Kalamazoo Promise, who is a return collaborator on this event. They have always, for the last 3 years, as well as Community Healing Center, the street program. There's so many folks. John Hold, they have to always give him a shout out, because he's another person that whether it's election season or not, he shows up and shows out. He comes whether he's running for office or not. He's going to come, he's going to help, and he'll roll up his sleeves and get right in there. So I'm just very, very grateful that a lot of the people that are on board for Youth Connect are people that actually I feel are genuine and that are sincere, and when they, sincere in that they actually want to help the population that I serve.
Did you talk to Rooted? I know Rooted, their community group.
So also, I wanted to mention that Cope Network is going to be there, as well as Northside Recovery and Resource Center. There's so many people. There's people that I don't even. So this is actually not even the final flyer.
Oh wow!
This is not. This flyer doesn't even have all the table connectors on it. This flyer is actually just a flyer with our partners, sponsors, and collaborators. It doesn't have the table connectors on there yet. So,
if I may, So some significant names, just to put a fine point on this. The main sponsors are Hope Through Navigation and Douglas Community Association. We also have the Vine Neighborhood Association, the Kalamazoo Community Foundation, Old National Bank. Northside Association for Community Development, Park Street Market, Kalamazoo Parks. And Big Mo's Barbecue Sauce. It's a really impressive list of different organizations. Some you wouldn't even expect.
This flyer.
Good job on you for it.
Thank you.
This flyer looks like a NASCAR jacket. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm saying. This is why I said we need to post the flyer after we post this video, because it is amazing, and I encourage people to come. I actually will come and help if I can.
I will.
I'd love to have you. Yeah.
I will say, unfortunately, I have to work, but next event, I will make sure to get the day off. I'll be there at my table. I guess probably handing out flash drives full of radical documentaries and books.
I'm not. I don't get off work till 3.
Yeah.
So as soon as I get off work, I will be there. But I will be running late. I'm sorry.
Okay. We'll still have stuff for you to do when you get there.
So I will say, Gwen, if you don't mind, maybe a couple extra minutes we got here. So I wanted to ask you kind of a broader question about somebody who does organize in the community day to day. We have this youth oriented event. What are some of the key problems, issues you see that both the younger kids and the teenage population? Maybe those are two separate kind of tracks of issues, but what are some of the main problems that you see them having in our neighborhoods today, particularly Edison, Northside, places that are a little bit more less upwardly mobile than say
absolutely
Winchell, Western Hills.
Right, absolutely. So the first thing, the most notable thing I'm gonna have to say is gonna be STDs. We know Kalamazoo County is very, very high with sexually transmitted diseases, and it really impacts 13 to 21 year olds, which is so surprising to me. To be sexually active at 13 is just outrageous in the first place. The other thing is going to be, substance abuse, substance use. Right now, everybody's experimenting with something, whether it be alcohol, the vape cigarettes. It's so accessible, especially in communities that are already low-income communities that are already traumatized. They put alcohol, convenience liquor stores on every block, and it just makes it easier and easier for younger people to get it. So that's a major problem. And then of course guns. So those are probably going to be my top 3 that I would say off the top of my head that really are issues that are impacting Kalamazoo. Just that I see on the ground day to day.
Lawrence, did you have something?
Correct me if I'm wrong, and this is just something that I remember from high school. We're still doing a lot of abstinent-only education in our schooling, in our public schooling, right? Is that still a thing that's going on in our?
Might depend on the school district.
Because I remember
Kalamazoo.
No, because I remember when we were, maybe I'm just speaking from my experience of growing up in Kalamazoo, especially going to the public schools in Kalamazoo. That was a lot of the main talking points, and we've learned through multiple studies that usually does not help with when it comes to dealing with STDs, and especially when it comes to teenagers and the youth. And multiple studies have shown that. But again, it goes back to information and access. Do kids understand about protection? Do they understand about what safe sex is? Do they understand what condoms are? Is that information readily available to them? That type of stuff needs to be talked about, because if they don't learn it from us who cares about them, you want them to get it from the internet when they have a cell phone in their pocket.
Oof, yeah.
Yeah, that's not what you want people to do.
Right. So if they're not getting it from people who are informed and who cares about them, then they're going to find it somewhere else, and those people may not be as savory as we are. But I mean,
so the question, Kalamazoo Public Schools, I would be very surprised if they had, I'm not aware of a sex ed curriculum at all. I know Comstock has one, which I would say that where it needs to be, it's not. And not to say that it doesn't need to be everywhere, but when you look at the numbers and who's most impacted by the problem, it seems like that's where you would really want to concentrate on actually providing information, accurate information. I think that, with a lot of newer information that's getting out that people are sharing, like with Kalamazoo County Substance Abuse Task Force, they are actually covering a lot of ground and doing things that, it's Kalamazoo County Substance Abuse Task Force, but they're actually covering some, safe sex and some other, peer pressure and some other things that line up with it, intersect with it, but it's not really what they're charged to do, but it's something that they're kind of taking up because, it's not being really adequately covered, in Kalamazoo Public Schools. So,
I remember the last of that when we were in school, when we were at Lloyd Norris and also in high school. Oh, sorry. But when we were in Lloyd Norris and when we were in high school and in middle school, a lot of those programs were funded, but by the time we got to high school, they got cut. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe. I think a lot of it does come down to funding. We talked about that as well. That funding, that if there isn't funding for a lot of these things, then the things that we need are not being done. Like the youth will be negatively affected because we're not putting money behind it.
That is a really good point, and I'm glad that we kind of took this little detour because, frankly, that's a good question. I didn't know whether they were kind of teaching it in our schools or not, and that is an important STDs have been a huge problem in Kalamazoo for many, many years, and it's really only been a growing problem. Nora, I'm sorry, you had
so I did want to contribute to that. It's definitely been a problem, and there's only so much that the Family Health Center and the Planned Parenthood around here can do, and I think part of that almost seems intentional to me because pharma is such a big industry in Southwest Michigan in general that there's a lot of less than savory businesses that could profit off of this. But I did want to ask, Gwen, while you're here, what if for the folks at home that might be interested in contributing to this, what's a way they could help out with either their time and their money?
Yeah, well, that's a great question that I love to answer. So right now, we always are definitely going to say that we always need gift cards, anything that a kid would like, from gift cards to restaurants, a lot of times footballs, basketballs, bikes, on a broader scale. Books are always good. I've seen a lot of bookstore types of things. Kids love music, headphones, anything electronic. You can always make donations in cash if you want. You can make those donations to Hope Through Navigation. If you need a tax-exempt status, you can make a Divine Neighborhood Association. Excuse me. But yeah, definitely just come by. Just giving your time, a couple of hours, we'd love to have you.
So when can people? So is that's just Monday through Friday? Anybody can come through and come volunteer? Or, you okay? Okay.
Is that pollen? Or is that, okay,
that time of year,
yeah.
Right?
So I think Lawrence was asking when would volunteer times be open? Would that be the first half of the week, or specifically on the day of, or?
Excuse me. So Wednesday we'll be at the Douglas Community Association setting up at noon. Tuesday, we're going to be out in the neighborhoods flagging and tagging, passing out flyers, posting. So Tuesday is a good time. If you have a couple of hours from 3 to 6, we're going to be doing that. Monday, we're going to be out from 1 o'clock until 4. So if you have time, you have, more arms, more feet, the more ground we can cover. So we want to make sure that any youth, so we go to parks, we go to places that there's likelihood to be kids, and we put handbills in a kid's hand, and we send them home. So, yeah.
All right, and what's the best way to get a hold of you and the organizers about volunteering?
Absolutely. So you can, always go on Facebook. There is a Youth Connect page. There's also Hope Through Navigation event page. You can reach me via my phone. If you are wanting to volunteer, Shayna McLean is our volunteer coordinator, so you can always look her up on Facebook. You can call our office number at 269-207-4830. There's also, thankfully, to Aaron Bissonette, who created our sign-up link, which is a very, very cool, nice-looking link. You can always go onto our Facebook page and find our sign-up link on for volunteering with Sign Up Genius. And I'm so easy to find, Gwendolyn Hooker. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Hope Through Navigation, Snapchat. You can find me virtually anywhere. So if you're interested in coming by, volunteering, donating, just give us a shout out. Anything that you can do, time, money, resources, we definitely welcome it, and the youth will be very grateful.
Okay, again, thank you so much, Gwen, for coming on the show. Again, that event, if you got any youngins in your life, or you are interested in volunteering, that's going to be Wednesday, April 3rd from 3 to 6 p.m. over at the Douglas Community Association. I think with that, let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, well, we've got a lot more to talk about. The orange one's going to be in GR, and a few other Michigan stories we might want to touch on if we have time. Y'all listen to the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, your only source for political revolution.
what they call a quarter pounder with cheese and herring?
WIDR Kalamazoo.
This is a tasty burger.
Voting is important. From deciding Kalamazoo's best drunk food to picking the fan favorite for Wider's Battle of the Bands, voting allows people to voice their opinions and change their world. To vote for offices such as mayors, senators, and the president takes a little more than a link to a Google Forms survey. Before you vote, you have to register. This can be done in person, by mail, and, in many states, online. For more information, you can point your favorite web browser to vote.gov.
Wider's 2019 Battle of the Bands is supported by Rupert's Brew House. Rupert's is located on 773 West Michigan Avenue in Kalamazoo. Rupert's offers daily specials on food and drink as well as live entertainment weekly. To find out more information, you can visit rupertsbrewhouse.com or give them a call at 269-337-9911.
Hey everyone, we are back. This is the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 WIDR Kalamazoo. So while everybody's getting recollected, I just wanted to touch again real quick on that climate change article. A couple of very important facts about kind of our future here in the Great Lakes region. Some of the things that are expected. Warming is continuing in this century. The air warms, they'll hold more moisture. It's likely to mean heavier winter snowstorms and spring rains. There'd also be flooding in vulnerable areas. Something else that goes on talk about, Great Lakes, they hold about a fifth of the world's fresh water. We all know this. They're very influential. We always get lake effect snow. This is really going to exacerbate it. However, another really important issue, we're going to be getting more heat waves. 90-degree temperatures are going to become more and more common. There's predictions that there will be a lower crop yield because the wetter springs will make it more difficult to plant crops. They predict that corn and soybean crop yield will go down by 10 to 30% by the end of the century. And there is also a concern that there will be a huge dip in water quality. One of the outliers of a warming planet in the Great Lakes region includes degradation of more release by untreated sewage, heavy storms, and nutrient runoff that feed harmful algae blooms, some of which are toxic. So, if you think Michigan didn't have water problems before. Ugh. So, again, those are some things to look for. And again, if you want to read the full article, that is at the CBC. Great Lakes are rapidly warming, likely to trigger more flooding and extreme weather. And by the way, with everything I just said, our region is still gonna be hit less bad than other regions of the United States, which I'm thinking particularly areas of the Southwest that literally will become uninhabitable. But
it's gonna be uninhabitable, and then they're gonna come here.
Sure,
like.
Toxic algae water drink.
Yeah, I have no problem with having more neighbors. It's just that's the result of us destroying the planet. Also, if you want to see how two different Democrats talk about climate change, look at Chuck Schumer's response to Mitch McConnell and look at AOC's response.
Oh, I watched that. She was spitting hot fire.
Man.
Yeah.
she was acting like a battle rapper, dog. Like AOC is the hottest rapper in the game right now, dog. She's been spitting bars. Like every time she is on the mic. Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, they've been spitting bars, dog. And the rest of the Justice Democrats, I could not be more proud of the insurgent candidates like the DNC. Like, they are
And to get, just my little analysis in, I do remind people on the show a lot that, I'm a little bit further to the left of, DSA. I don't really think entry into our political system is the answer. I think it's a revolution. But everything that they've been doing has been some really good work in like getting that voice into a position of power, using their platform in exactly the right way. So really a big kudos to all of them, and especially like AOC and Rashida and Ilhan, who's been
Doug, we have freshmen, we have 60 something new freshman people, right? Mm-hmm. You have 3 to 4 of them that are constantly being talked about because they refuse to go along with the garbage.
Mm-hmm. But I believe, I know this is going to lead into something I know you wanted to talk about. I believe the traditional Democratic establishment is hard at work trying to prevent more passionate, fire-spitting millennials, socialists from getting on in Congress. So,
let me talk about this story. If you haven't heard, the DCCC, the Democratic Democratic Congress Campaign Committee, basically sent out a notice saying that if you are a consultant or a business or a consultant or have a consulting business or anything of the sort, if you'll work on campaigns for a living, basically, right, you will be blackballed from working with DNC. You'll be blackballed from the DCCC's listings. We're going to blackball you from helping Democrats if you're going to be on the side of incumbents, on the side of people trying to take incumbent seats. The reason why this pissed me off, obvious, because outside of the blatant disrespect, for our democracy, the Democratic Party is being undemocratic. A week beforehand, the DNC, a story came out that the DNC wanted to primary Ilhan Omar. So they want to primary progressives who are spitting fire and telling the truth. But then they are going to take away money from the people who should supposed to be helping with those campaigns. So they are kneecapping people who are going to primary incumbents. So if they did this last time, people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, all these people would have had their campaigns kneecapped. And that's what they're basically trying to do they're trying to basically do it from the offset. They're trying to establish their own relevancy into keeping their jobs, which is literally making the DCCC less relevant.
Mm-hmm. That is straight up truth. Yeah.
It's infuriating because the DNC will say that they care about diversity and unity, right? So if it's a black conservative versus a white progressive, they're going to say, we need diversity. We need diversity. We need the diversity in our party. If it's a brown-skinned woman versus a white incumbent, you hear crickets. Mm-hmm. So the thing that and the other thing that also pissed me off to go along with this is that you had Steny Hoyer, Chuck Schumer, and Nancy Pelosi agree with Mike Pence on throwing shade at Ilhan Omar at AIPAC, and it just really pissed me off because I'm like, what happened to party unity? What happened to standing up for our folks? Y'all are throwing people who are incumbents, who the DCCC should be protecting now because she's an incumbent. You're throwing shade at her and trying to throw her on the bus. They compared the statements that she made to statements made by neo-Nazis, man.
And
like,
what's even disgusting about it is like, this is continuing in the wake of, the New Zealand massacre. They're continuing with this like, and granted, I mean, this isn't necessarily new. Anybody who is against Israel is anti-Semitic. This has been like a go-to attack they've used forever, but they've been especially tenacious against Ilhan Omar, who no secret is a black Muslim woman.
She wears a hijab. She was sworn in on Thomas Edison's Quran.
Oh
no! It wasn't
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson's Quran.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, she tells the truth, and she's like, okay, everybody's gonna get mad at me no matter what I say, but can we talk about Palestine? Can we talk about...
If Thomas Edison had a Quran, he would have stole it from Tesla. But
oh, my God.
Hey,
yeah.
This is a little science history joke for you nerds listening.
Oh, the bars.
Yeah.
Because it's true.
Yeah.
Because it's true. Here's the problem. And this is the problem that I just had with the whole thing. The DNC, this is the three main problems I have with the DCCC doing this announcement. A, you're spitting in the face of your own voters, and you're telling them that you're going to circumvent democracy. You're manipulating the process to make it harder for regular Americans to win, to regular Americans to be in the political process. So you are spitting in the face of democracy. 2, you're saying that you're more afraid of progressives than you are with number 3 fighting Republicans. So instead of having an actual progressive who represents their district, which is my second problem, actually having a choice, because in a democracy we should have a choice, you're saying, no, we are going to give you your choice, and we're going to make it much more difficult for you to have a choice that we don't accept. And you're saying that you're doing this not at the detriment of having better candidates. You're doing this so you can protect your own ass. And that's the thing that goes back to the third thing. You're more afraid of AOC and Rashida Tlaib and all the other Justice Democrats, brand new Congress, our revolutions people than you are of Republicans, because the Republicans will keep the system as it is so you can stay rich.
Yep. Yeah, really. It's and I mean, we've talked about this before on the show too. A lot of times, like when we say colloquially, it's like the Democrats are paid to lose. It's that a lot of these progressive policy positions that are so popular that you could stake a winning campaign on. It's not that, it's like they're too dumb to do them. It's that there's a financial incentive, there's a systemic incentive for them to strategize around those things. It's like, how do we win without doing anything progressive? I mean, it's again, not to bring up Russiagate again, that was a tactic. It's like, how do we defeat Trump without changing anything about the Democratic Party? It's like, he's making Russian Manchurian candidate.
Chuck Schumer, like, just to put a pin on this. When you look at Chuck Schumer talk about climate change, or when he talks about, hey, the New York Times says that we did a good thing. Where's your plan at, Mitch? He has more fury in his AIPAC speech comparing Ilhan Omar to Nazis than he does talking about climate change. Think about that. Think about that. He has more fire condemning someone who's right on an issue, who wasn't being anti-Semitic, who was correct in her analysis. When you say, yeah, I'm on the foreign policy, Foreign
Affairs Committee. Yep.
And as a federal worker, I must sign a pledge to not use my First Amendment rights to boycott, divest, or sanction Israel. So I'm signing an allegiance to Israel, and I'm not going to talk about or look at what they're doing when the United Nations said that what they're doing to Palestinians is wrong. Ignoring the fact, half the country, if you are a federal worker, there's half the states in our country says that you have to not use your First Amendment rights to boycott, divestments, or sanction Israel. So they are taking away your First Amendment rights to use it in a way that you want against a country that they're protecting. So that is an alliance. And she never said anything about dual leadership. They're pivoted. They always pivot to that.
Dual loyalty.
Yeah, dual loyalty. The issue is the mainstream media and everybody who's criticized her pivots to it, even though she never said it. They pivot to it to try to condemn her for something she never said, even though she was talking about facts. But the DCCC saying, hey, bro, we don't like none of these people. And that's the other part. There's 60. This is the other part that I didn't see anybody talk about. There's 63 different new freshmen, right? Mm-hmm. Look at the message that they're sending. We will come down on you. We will come down on you and anybody who you feel like going up against.
Well, they're trying to make her a sacrificial lamb, and I think it's because, like, Ilhan, she doesn't have the sort of celebrity status that AOC has, and, you know, she's part of a marginalized population. They see someone vulnerable that they can, like, take down and basically make an example of.
No, but it also says, hey, look, the establishment will use its power to crush you if you don't go get along to play along. And if you don't think that the rest of the people there don't see that, and they're like, dog, the DCCC says that we will crush you. We will be a part of going against you if you do not go along to play along. And also it's saying, hey, the old guard here does not like y'all. We don't like none of you. Y'all are new here. Y'all don't know how things are going. We don't like y'all. So if we want to shut you down, we will. And y'all should, and the rest of them should be like, y'all can go kick rocks with no socks.
So, I wanted to kind of close out the show, if you're okay with me, like, pivoting the topic.
Go ahead.
So this is a different issue. Actually, we were talking about marijuana a little bit earlier, but this is interesting, and I don't actually know which side I fall on this issue, but this is a Michigan story. And what it is, Michigan shouldn't set legal limit for driving while high, commission says. And I'll read a little bit from it, and then I want to kind of like talk to you, have a conversation about it. A special commission is advising Michigan lawmakers not to set limits on how much THC a person can have in their system before they're deemed too impaired to drive. The 6-member commission, appointed by former Republican Governor Rick Snyder, has studied the possibility of setting a legal limit on THC for the past year. Last week, the Impaired Driving Safety Commission sent its report to state lawmakers, which recommended they not set a numerical impairment limit for THC. After reviewing several studies, the commission found there is no scientifically supported threshold for THC that correlates to impaired driving. And in fact, goes on to say, studies have found that people impaired by cannabis typically drive slower, leave more space between cars, and take fewer risks than when they drive sober, according to the commission's report. Now, I did want to say one thing this report leaves out is if you're driving while high, you're at least 5 times more likely to come home with way too much Taco Bell.
Hey, those new nacho fries, though.
Yeah.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie to you.
Okay, so
I've been trying to eat healthy, but them new nacho fries, though.
So, okay, I was thinking about this, and, like, personally, I'm a little torn. It's like, well, should we really say, like, just put no legal restrictions on how baked you can get behind the wheel? Because it's like, I feel like there should be something, because, like, yes, that is true that a lot of people who are high do drive a little bit more cautiously, but that's also a factor of the fact that like they're paranoid about getting pulled over because they know they're high.
Yeah. It's different than someone, but again, that's different than someone being drunk, because when someone is drunk, a lot of times when someone's drunk, they're reckless, and we've seen what drunk drivers do behind the wheel. I don't know. There isn't enough information to say, yo, this person was high on THC and that's what caused the crash. There's not enough information because we have not been able to study.
That's true.
We have not been allowed to study marijuana and its effects on people, like if they're driving or things of that nature. Then I would feel more comfortable being like, yeah, there's been multiple studies that show if you are this numerical number high, then you should not be getting behind the wheel. You know what I'm saying? Now you have to understand or try to equate that to how many blunts you smoke, or how many Dutches, how many, you know what I'm saying, how many edibles you might have ate. But the thing is that if we don't study it, and we can't regulate something until we get more information. And that's the thing. We need more information on it. As of right now, if more studies show, most people who are high drive slower, then what that means is that if you see someone who has a lot of space between the car and the windows may be a little bit foggy, then they might be high. You know what I'm saying? Or it might just be cold, but it's one, two.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, we need more information. We don't have enough relevant information to make a law based off of it.
Yeah. And I guess here's what I'll throw in there. I feel like unless you have like a medical condition that you're taking marijuana medically. If you're doing it recreationally, what I would say, and this is somebody who comes from somebody who has driven while high, by the way. Even if I am technically driving slower, I am still in an altered state of consciousness.
Yeah.
It's really not the best thing to do. And I know I'm granted, I have gotten fast food while I'm baked. But what I will say is use your best judgment. If you got enough money to do that, you probably have enough money to order a pizza or some other takeout.
If you have enough money to I won't even say that. If you're high, then ask someone else to drive. You don't have to
yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying, get your Top Chef on in your kitchen. Now I understand that there might be nobody food there, but at the same time, we don't need people who are super baked out of their minds driving and getting into accidents, ruining it for the rest of us. Let's not be foolish here. We can be adults here. You know what I'm saying?
And I will say, for one thing, it does give you kind of have a slower reaction time. So maybe it's not even so much about yourself, but I feel like it'll. I mean, let's be clear. This is a college radio station. A lot of people, we will tell them not to. A lot of people will drive drunk, and if you're driving while high, you are not going to be as prepared to make the kind of split-second decisions you might need to make if somebody's driving like a fool and you need to avoid an accident.
Oh, dog, yeah, that's real talk. Real talk. And also, folks, come on now. Do you want someone who's high texting and driving at the same time? While they're high, let's come on now. Let's be real about how Americans do things. We are a bunch of multitasking people. We will text and drive. We will drive while high and we'll drive while drunk. Let's not do that, folks, because not only are you putting your life at risk, you're putting the life of others at risk as well. Yeah. So let's study some more. Let's learn some more about it, and then let's make some decisions.
So let's if you're ready, I think we'll close out the show. I want to do the activist calendar, let you know some of the stuff that's coming up this week. A little bit of one, if you have the ability, We were going to interview somebody with Socialist Alternative in Grand Rapids. That didn't work out. Maybe we'll interview them next week. But they are organizing a protest to Donald Trump up in Grand Rapids. They're going to start at 4 o'clock. Again, be safe. But again, it is a genuinely radical club that is organizing this protest. They're going to be they're endorsed by Fight Back News, American Party of Labor, the John Brown Gun Club, etc. If you can make it to Grand Rapids and stick it to the Orange Man, do so. Also tomorrow, a little bit of shameless self-promotion. The Kalamazoo Socialist Party is going to be hosting a teach-in over at the Kalamazoo Public Library in the Van Dusen Room. If you can't get enough of my silky voice talking about radical politics, I'm going to be spearheading this lecture about the history of American socialism and radical labor movements. And you know what? We're also going to have a bunch of free food. We're providing free dinner. If you want some of my awesome vegetarian chili, you should come down and learn something about history.
If we're doing shameless plugs, what I'm saying, Friday at 9, coffee talk with me and one of my other radical friends.
That's right.
About random craziness and other stuff. Mostly black news for black people and everyone else who wants to come and listen. Because we need to talk about that. This is the thing that I realized the other day. Mm-hmm. Roland Martin talked about this on the Breakfast Club. There are 8 media companies that's on cable news that's targeted towards black folks. Mm-hmm. That's 1,344 hours of content weekly. Not 1 hour is dedicated to news.
I will say there are some good two things that come to mind. Let the Madness Begin and Brick by Brick with Jacqueline Lindman, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I mean you have
good
online
progressive black outlets.
Yeah. You have online media that deals with black media, but nothing on cable. And a lot of people are cutting the cord, but a lot of people still watch cable. So I mean, Roland Martin Unfiltered's dope. And the places that you just said are also pretty dope as well. So I mean, like, I don't know, man. We gotta do more. We gotta do better, and we gotta educate our people because people are not informed, and then we cannot fault them for what they don't know.
Yep, that's absolutely right. And the last couple things too. The Southwest Michigan DSA is having an Earth Day planning meeting at the library Saturday at 2 p.m. Also, the Urban Democracy Feast. It's basically this Urban Democracy Feast is not yearly. They meet a couple times a year, but it's basically people pool their money together. It's not a nonprofit. It's just a lot of radicals pool their money together and give grants to different kind of leftist projects. It's good stuff. And then on Monday, April 1st, there's going to be a trans ally study group at the first congressional UCC downtown. That's from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And then the DSA is going to be having their April general meeting over the Vine Neighborhood Association, Monday, April 1st from 7 till 8:30 p.m. Until next time, y'all, thanks for tuning in. This has been the Hoodrat Strategist radio program. Keep on fighting for that revolution solution.